there is a way you can change the other person. This first happened to me years ago when I was at work, and I got a new boss. You know, it's always great when you get a new boss. This guy, oh. So let's call him David. So David invites me into his office, and he has on the phone Lisa, who's my peer in another state. So Lisa's trying to explain what she's doing, and she's like, oh, we're working on these 6 initiatives, and we're making the business better and better. And then David says, wow, Lisa, like, I'm impressed. Like, you're doing so many great things. Then David pushes mute on the phone, turns to me and says, what is it with this woman? Talk, 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 spend, spend, spend. Her budget's out of control. I bet I could cut like 20% of it. In fact, I should probably cut her as well. So I'm sitting there, like, what am I supposed to do? And the call ends, and I discreetly go to a phone down the hallway, and I call up Lisa, because she's a friend of mine. And she says, thanks for the heads up, but Scott, I'm kind of sorry to tell you this. David's saying the same thing about you behind your back. He says, you don't cut your budget. So I hear this, and I am so mad. I can't believe what a chicken shit this guy is. Like, he's my boss. So instead of talking to my face, he's like lurking around in the shadows, and he's stabbing us in the back. So I reluctantly spend the next week figuring how to cut costs so I don't get cut. But I have to admit, I also spent a lot of the next week obsessing about what a horrible person this guy was. Well, finally, I get to Saturday. Hallelujah. Not only don't I have to go to work, I get to do my favorite thing, which is to take my 5-year-old daughter to the petting zoo. So we're at the petting zoo, and I buy her the little pellets. She puts out those cute little 5-year-old hands. The sheep comes up, eating, taking bite after bite. My daughter's just giggling. She's so happy. And I'm taking this all in. And I look at the sheep's eyes, and I notice the sheep's eyes, well, they kind of look like David's eyes. When he said that horrible thing about Lisa, and then he said the same thing about me, like, how dare this guy? And I stop, and I'm like, no, Scott, no. David ruined your week. Don't let him ruin your weekend, too. So I try really hard not to obsess, which, of course, you know what happened. I obsessed even more. And I remembered some article I read about black and white thinking. And it said it's super rare that one person is all bad and the other person's all good. So even though I felt he was the villain and I was the victim, I really made myself think about just one way in which David was right. And I realized we did have to cut costs. Like, our budgets were out of control. So I had to concede he was right about that. And then I had to do the even harder thing, which was to figure out how I was wrong in the situation. And I started to realize that I was being really rigid. Like, I wanted to do things my way. But when you have a new boss, you know what you have to do? You have to be like that green cartoon character Gumby. You gotta raise your arms this way, or bend your legs that way, or you gotta do whatever flexible thing is needed. So something kind of interesting happened when I had this good thought about David, and I realized how I was wrong in one way. That black and white thinking, it started to shatter. And best of all, that self-righteous anger that I had began to fade away, and suddenly I was back at the zoo. I was with my daughter and enjoying the animals. It was kind of like magic, but I thought it was just kind of a fluke. So the next week at work, of course, I started obsessing again, but I tried this trick and thought of a good thing of David in a way in which I was wrong. And again, the obsession just dried up. And I tried this with some other situations, some other people, and lo and behold, I found out we have this amazing ability to make bad people better. All we have to do is reset them in our mind. So I encourage everyone to kill a few of your villains and reset yourself into a happier state of mind.